If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come, bring my spirits up. There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.
Welcome back to my coverage of the Kristin Smart trial. We are still in closing arguments with the defense. Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, Salinas, California, in the Monterey County Courthouse. You can probably tell by my voice, I am still on vacation and got up early to get this done for you guys. So sorry about my morning voice, but once we get going here, it'll warm up. All right, let's get into it. As Singer continues his closing arguments, he called into question the credibility of the prosecution witnesses, just about every single last one of them. He delved into Adela Morris, the dog handler's testimony. He reminded the jurors of one of their very own questions about the dog alerting on vomit. He reminds the jurors, as he attempts to minimize the testimony, that the prosecution has to prove what was testified to, not answer with, "That's a good question." He says it may seem unfair, but that's how it works in our country. He also said, in the end, it's the jurors' job to figure out what this is all about. Singer went on to talk to the jurors about uncharged acts. He explains that even though 2 women accused Paul of rape, he's charged with murder, not rape, or attempted rape. He said if Paul took advantage of these women, quote, "That's wrong, that's bad, that's a crime. He can be convicted of that, but that's not your job. What you have to decide is if Paul Flores committed murder." He continued to attack many witnesses, questioning their timing along with publicity, and to him, it's no coincidence they came forward decades later. Singer agrees something probably happened to Kristin, but what? Did she go somewhere else? What was she doing? We don't know. You cannot fill in the blank with "I bet I know," because that's not how this works. Singer goes as far as accusing the prosecution witnesses as not really even being experts. He calls it just junk science coming into the courtroom. He questioned the validity of the test done on the soil under Ruben's deck, of course, which he's done repeatedly already. Singer went on about the photo with one of Paul's alleged rape victims and how there was nothing in the picture that shows a sex crime. Instead, he says it's supposedly Paul's computer, supposedly Paul's red ball gag, and Singer isn't even sure what color ball gags come in. Oh my gosh. As Singer goes on and on, continuing to dispute the blood evidence at length, he even says Angela Butler was nice enough, but when she came back for rebuttal, she had an attitude change. Singer said he didn't know what prompted that. He says she was pretty much on edge and, quote, "You were there." And then he said he just couldn't pass up pointing out about Ruben. And he points to him and he said, "He's over there wearing his headphones. He just wants to know why they were swabbing his wife, ex-wife, or still wife, but ex-wife status." Even the lawyers don't know what the heck's going on with their relationship. He just wants to know why they were swabbing his wife. He says Ruben misspoke and corrected himself. Singer says it's just ridiculous. Side note, in my opinion, that statement was interesting, but for me, it didn't hold a lot of weight. There's a few things that they brought out that people thought were so shocking and had so much validity to the case that I didn't feel the same. Singer points out the prosecution rebuttal, and he says it is to rebut things that he said, not to argue his case again, and not for the prosecution to appeal to their emotions. Singer sincerely thanked the jurors for their attention. He finishes by saying, quote, "You must decide the case for yourself. It depends on all 12 of you to deliberate to show whether there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The only proper verdict in this case is not guilty." And finally, after 2 days and over 5 hours of closing arguments from Singer, both Monday and Tuesday, he finally wrapped it up. Jeez. All right, it's time for the prosecution's rebuttal. So this will be the last time that they should be speaking the jury about Paul. So Pavel went over each point that Sanger tried to make, and this is at least the fourth and fifth time that they rehashed the testimony and the forensics and went over it, and he confirmed all his evidence and why it's valid. And in my opinion, the repetition seems a bit annoying, but it really will help the jurors. The more you hear something, the more it sticks, you know? Then the prosecution also told the jurors, quote, the only at-risk behavior Kristin Smart participated in that night was existing in the same zip code as Paul Flores. That was a quote. He also says, how could 50 witnesses, 6 dogs, and all these other experts be in a grand conspiracy to convict Paul? He also reminded the jurors that Paul still has no alibi for Saturday morning because he was murdering Kristin and hiding the body with his dad. Mr. Pavel apologizes to the jurors, saying that he's sorry that they've seen things that no human should ever have to see. Pavel said that sometimes we tell kids that monsters don't exist, but they do. One of my favorite things that prosecution said in closing was that he was waiting to hear about the Flores family ferret farm or gorilla sanctuary. He said it was 100% beyond any doubt human blood. And that struck me because when he previously told the jurors in his original closing that they must decide whether or not what the defense is presenting sounds reasonable. In my opinion, ferret blood and primate blood sounds extremely unreasonable, in my opinion. The prosecution asked the jury to make a truthful verdict that Paul Flores is guilty of first-degree murder. Here we go again. Flippin' Sanger filed another motion for mistrial. How many is that now, guys? I've lost track. For me, that means he's not very confident in the outcome of this trial. And of course, Judge O'Keefe once again denied his motion for mistrial. Now, with that all being complete, Paul's jury began deliberations. Judge O'Keefe went on to give Reuben's jurors instructions later in the day, with closing arguments for Reuben's jurors, now rescheduled. Remember, it was supposed to start at 1:30, but since Sanger went on and on and on and on, Paul's stuff didn't wrap up till 3 o'clock. So now Reuben's jurors have to wait till Wednesday. I feel like Misek will be quick. Who knows? Maybe he saved it all for the end. We'll see soon enough. The verdicts will be read back to back, so whatever jury's done first, they have to wait for the other to complete before it can be announced. The 5 remaining alternates were asked to remain available to fill in until the verdicts are returned. Judge O'Keefe denied video and audio access to the verdict in her last ruling, unfortunately. As we get closer to the justice we're all hoping for, I can't help but think that it's not finished. We have to find her. As always, justice for Kristin.
If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come.
Thanks for watching.
Bring my spirits up.
Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers.
There's some shit